Coming up on this episode, we decided to do a little bit of a different format. We took the show on the road. We got together and had some good food, good drinks, and we tried to answer the question of how you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. Anyways, all that and more, grab a cold one, stay tuned. The garage is now open.
We've become desensitized because we've been shown everything, so we don't appreciate the classics, essentially. So what the point I was going to make was, coming back to my generation, there's this feeling of loss for me when I hear someone my age. Let's take the movie example. Jaws was boring to me. And I'm like, okay, that may be because we've seen everything done after Jaws in that specific arena. Deep Blue Sea, The Meg, whatever. All these other movies. You've seen it all.
Yeah.
And it's more intense. I grant you, yes.
CGI.
See all that stuff. You see everything now. But you have to realize you don't understand the cultural phenomena these things were when they came out. You're missing that part of the equation.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can understand how terrifying seeing that in the theater was, or seeing The Exorcist in the theater was for the first time, or, I don't know, The Godfather, any of these all-time great classics. The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz. When she opens the door and it turns into color.
You're like, wait, huh? What?
Everyone back then was probably like, what the hell did I just see?
Yeah.
There's no understanding of that. And it's really, really frustrating. So to move that to like, okay, have you ridden the Beast in Kings Island?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't like it because it beats me up, and it's actually kind of a boring ride for the majority of it.
Boring? Wait a second.
I'm like, yeah, what are you talking about? Because we're all desensitized now to riding roller coasters that go 700 miles an hour, 17,000 inversions. I'm exaggerating, of course, but you get the idea.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
There's no appreciation for when this first came out, the impact that it had on everyone. Because there had to be an original GOAT for everything, right? Yeah, it gets surpassed over time, probably, but...
Yeah.
So that was the point I was going to make.
No, it's a point well taken, for sure. It's just, whether you go into roller coasters, cars, as I was mentioning, these drag racers, they used to hop stuff up, 200, 300 horsepower, they were going top speed of 110 or something like that, now you can, you get a EV that's, 1,000 horsepower and, it'll take you 220 or whatever, miles an hour, and it's just, when do you say when? It's, do you need 1,000 horsepower EV on the road? Why? What do you, then they're talking, like, with speed limiters and all that stuff. On one side of things, it's like, well, that's a great thing. On the other side, it's like, no, if I buy a car, I should be able to, do what I want with it, go however, but it's that give and take, or even if, like video games. Video games is, you have to, the Killing Fields and, Night of the Living Dead and this and that, and, you just, I don't know, I come from the age of, Pac-Man. Left, right, up, down, eat the power pellets, eat the, ghost and all that, the simple stuff.
But this comes back to the point we were making earlier, too. That you're making excellently right now. We've lost this sense of wonder and awe that originally came with the original versions of all of these things: the Pac-Mans, the Jawses, the original dragster cars, the original NASCARs. You know, as things get better, bigger, faster, grander over time, nobody's surprised by anything anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, so you break the speed of sound. What, Chuck Yeager, wasn't he like the first person to break the speed of sound? That was a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
In some kind of technological contraption. I don't know if it was a car or a jet or a plane or whatever it was.
Yeah.
If that happened now, no one would care.
Yeah.
No one would care.
There's probably a few people to be like, oh, you know,
but it wouldn't make worldwide news, and you wouldn't become famous for it.
Exactly.
Evel Knievel stunts probably seem lame today, but he
yeah.
was like the GOAT of stunt people back then. Mm-hmm. And look,
and when that's the whole thing to go along with that line, kids nowadays, they grow up with a, you know, supercomputer in the pocket.
Yeah, good point.
You know, they have digital media, you know, for music. You know, they have a, you know, high-end computer in their room, and, you know, laptop for school or a tablet. I mean, I bet you could probably pick out a couple out of there, and most of them wouldn't know cursive writing.
Oh no, well that's not taught anymore.
I mean, that's, you know, they could print, but that's about it. You know, they couldn't just write something out.
Even we're probably going to get to the point where that's not even going to be necessary anymore, right? Because everything's.
Mm-hmm. Well, but then also too, I mean, if you want to look at it from a far off standpoint, is this going to be like Wall-E, where, you know, everyone's, you know, like,
oh yeah,
1,000 pounds riding around on, you know, and then they have, you know, the Vision Pros attached to their face, and like not doing it. I mean, I just can't, you know, if you ask a teenager nowadays, you know, they'd be like, what are you talking about? You know, this is my phone. This is the way it's just funny to see kids nowadays, if the power goes out and their batteries are drained on their devices, because most of them, I bet, wouldn't be able to do anything.
No, or would know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so it's don't get me wrong, I'm all about technology and all that, obviously, but like you said,
it's just frustrating when you clearly see this lack of appreciation for greatness, regardless if it's 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, or older. The fact still remains. It's still great.
Oh, yeah.
But there's not that recognition, I think, that's the case with people in my space.
Well,
I don't know.
To go back to the movie thing, you usually do like October, you're watching all the classics, and I bet you're loving them just like the first time you saw them.
Oh, yeah, and frankly, I defer to the older, because that's what it wasn't of my generation, but that's what I was raised with, and that's how I was introduced to a lot of that, and that's, of course, a factor that's in play, too. Kids my age are probably, you know, used to stuff that they grew up with and don't go beyond that, right?
Yeah.
They just follow along from where they are going forward, not necessarily going back. Well, I would go back. And
you gotta find out where you've been to know where
exactly.
you're going.
It's one of those things where it's like how can you truly fully know and appreciate the things that you love, the hobbies that you have, without going back and recognizing and learning where they came from? It's whole everything stands on the shoulder of giants thing, right? To use my October horror movie marathon thing, we don't have nowadays the big horror movies are like Get Out and Hereditary. We don't have those without Saw. We don't have Saw without Ghostface, Scream. We don't have Scream without Halloween, Freddy the Krueger, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. We don't have those without Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We don't have Texas Chainsaw Massacre without The Exorcist. You know, you keep going back and back and back and back and back.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have any of these without this great silent movies that started the whole damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take that argument and apply it to any hobby, area, specialization thing, whatever.
Exactly.
That has to exist, and that has to be known and understood. Now, I'm also a history person, so like I understand that's sort of like the framework that I work within.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
understand the history of your favorite thing, that's probably the thing you got to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm pre-wired that way, but the
Now,
lack
if only,
of
now if only
appreciation for
kids
that.
could do that now.
I know it's the lack of appreciation for that. It's like if okay, let's say Taylor Swift comes out with the next greatest, biggest hit.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, great. She's the biggest star on the planet right now, and I'm not taking anything away from her. But we don't have Taylor Swift without Michael Jackson or Madonna or fill in the blank, the Beatles. You know, go back further. And there's not that sort of. There's not that sort of willingness to go back and learn from where it all started.
Yeah,
There's definitely not the
exactly.
appreciation for it.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I know I rambled and ran
No.
there for a second. But
No, that's but I was just checking that to make sure it was still good.
apply it to cars. You can make
Oh,
the
yeah.
same argument, right?
Uh-huh. You wouldn't have, the speed components that you do of today to, tweak and tune your car if it wasn't for the old hot rodders. If you want to go into that realm of things, you could even say that they were the original green guys because they would pull out a, broken down heap of pile of metal out of the junkyard, put it together, replace this, that, and the other thing and rebuild it, get it up and running and put it back out on the road to enjoy. And then the metal, busted up, rusted metal that they had, would turn around and drop off at the scrapyard, to turn around and pay for parts to put back into the car. So, I mean, you can't, it's one of those things that you look at it and you go, kind of like you were saying about the, the one coworker that sent that, notification, you just look at it and you go, you can't get, I don't know, sometimes.
You can't wrap your head around it sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, you can't wrap your head around it. It's like.
Instead of them having the awe to go back and figure it out, you are left in awe because there's no understanding here at all.
Yeah.
Which is not great.
You can't. I can't understand why they can't go and just say, oh, I like this movie genre. Go backwards and see where it all came from.
Exactly.
But
So
maybe it's hold that thought. But maybe it's just this. I don't know. Maybe it's something between early teens to mid 20s or something. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I might be stretching things on
that's
that
like
one.
I don't know. I feel like that's like the most impressionable age where you learn stuff, where the world is hitting you in so many different ways because you are constantly experiencing things that you've never experienced
Yeah.
for the first time.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the prime target range, if you will, to absorb as much as you possibly can that you don't know.
Yeah.
That's possible. Although I would make the argument we're always continually learning. I mean, there's stuff I still don't know about.
Oh yeah.
I watched 2 horror movies last week that I've never even heard of. They were both from the 1970s, but I finally just found out about them and I watch them now. So I mean, like, we're always learning.
Oh yeah.
Till the day we die. So.
Well, you can never stop learning.
No.
If you stop learning and stop doing things, well, you're in trouble then.
Right. Agreed. But I do agree with you. You are the most impressionable during that age range that you kind of identified. You're figuring yourself out. You're figuring the world out. You're figuring everything else in between out.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, that makes sense. So, not to change the subject, but I did want to, you kind of brought it up, and I don't think we've ever talked about it before yet. And you are a car person.
We'll see how much of a car person I am.
Were you into racing at all? Like competitive racing?
You mean like NASCAR type
Yeah,
thing?
NASCAR, IndyCar, kart, whatever it was.
I'm
Formula
not
One.
really the Formula One kind of guy, with the those kind of cars. I'm more, if anything, it would be in NASCAR.
Okay.
And I'm always meaning to try to catch some races here and there. My favorite would be either the road courses or the night races.
Okay.
If you're just a standard day race, it's like, it's great to have on the background and kind of like, oh, okay, so-and-so pulled ahead. But the road courses, I think, would have
That's where the
more.
skill and expertise come into play.
Exactly. And then the night races, it's just because it's nighttime,
Yeah.
makes it a little more interesting.
Right.
Plus, too, you can, whenever they show close-ups of cars going around the curves, you can see the brakes, turning,
Yeah, right, the red.
Deep red, because they're heating up so bad and sparks coming out and all that. So it just adds some interest to it,
So you were. We also were as well, but we followed both. Got into NASCAR, but my father was heavily into, at the time it was called kart, IndyCar.
Well, okay, if we're going that route, NASCAR is something relatively newer. Not newer as in like the last year or so, last maybe 10 years or something like that, or more. Because the one place I worked, they had the races on every so often, and so that's where I guess it was the first job I had out of college. But if you're talking going back that era, that was more like drag strips.
Okay.
Because like some of them, and I not necessarily watched any of that stuff, but I kind of was always flipping through my dad's, Carcraft magazines, Hot Rodder magazine, talking to him about it. And then even the place where I lived, there was a gas station down the street, and the owner, he was friends with, I guess, the owner or something like that. I'd have to ask my mom. But he would always go down there to help them tune their race car, and it would race up the street past my house and then go racing back down. So I was into racing per se, I guess you could say, but not. I'm more like the, a little bit of this, a little bit of that type of guy,
Only reason why I'm prodding you on this is because I'm going to be a hypocrite for a second here, because we just had that conversation about bigger, better, faster, and all that stuff, right? And the argument that my father always used to make to us growing up, because we were primarily IndyCar kart fans over NASCAR, and the sole reason was it was faster, it was more dangerous. You had an open head. There was no covering over your head, essentially, in an IndyCar kart car. There was an increased and heightened sense of danger at any point. When a kart car wrecked, the entire thing shattered. And it was like one of those scenarios is the driver alive or not?
Yeah.
So I was just curious, because I was going to pull a hypocrite move myself here and say, when we were growing up, we did prefer the faster, more dangerous, risk-taking form of racing.
Nothing wrong. See, that...
And the sounds they would make, just real quickly, that sound that an IndyCar or kart car would make coming around, it just hums like a bee or something like that.
Well, if we're gonna go down that road, I forget where I saw it. I don't know if it was a clip or something like that, but like talking about you got to know where you were to know where you're going type of thing. And then the racing is like I don't know if it was like something with the Ferrari, the Ford v Ferrari thing, and they were just like going like back, like if it wasn't for these guys, it wouldn't be for these guys, and that type of thing too. Where like this, they showed this one picture, where it was an old, like not the ones that I'm thinking you're talking about, but it's the older, higher ones that they wear the leather thing and then the goggles and there's literally nothing. They're just like flying, cutting corners and all that stuff.
Well, you think about both of them though, like. Both of them had monumental Titanic names that carried their sports If we're talking about the whole standing on the shoulders of giants thing, I mean, like, I don't know how far back NASCAR goes, but I mean, you could make the argument with the Pearsons and the Allisons and the Pettys.
I think
of
that's
course.
NASCAR actually, if I'm remembering and reading this right, it started out on as beach races, or maybe I'm thinking that is the gentleman's race, I think it's called.
Possibly, but it was primarily restricted to the South
Yeah.
originally.
But it started out on dirt tracks or something like that,
yeah.
and then it slowly morphed into where it is today.
Yeah. And then on the other side, on the Indy kart side, our family's Italian American. There's a famous racing family called the Andretti's. I'm sure many of you out the audience may know that. I hope people still know that name, but that's how we kind of got into it, because they were our racers because of the Italian American thing.
Yeah.
But even before them, the Foyts, these massive racing family names on both ends of the spectrum.
You're talking, I'm like, you're out of my range would be the farthest back my range would go is Mario Andretti.
Right, exactly.
You're talking back further than that. Some of those names, yeah.
But we grew up with his son, Michael. That's when I followed, and my dad was heavily involved too, because my dad went from Mario to Michael, and then we jumped on bandwagon when Michael took over, and went through that time for era there. Oh, we used to hate. There was an owner. His name was Chip Ganassi.
Oh.
And we hated him because he was like the anti-Andretti. Because all of his racers were really, really damn good, and Michael lost all of them. So he was like, the enemy for all time.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, because you have those rivalries in every like when I was growing up too. The big rivalry was Earnhardt versus Gordon. That's the one I remember the most because I was a Gordon guy, and we had family that were Earnhardt people, and I could never understand it. And I know there's this thinking and this philosophy out there, but Earnhardt purposely wrecked people to win. That seems so messed up to me.
Why he was called the Dominator?
The Intimidator, yeah.
Intimidator, that's what it was.
And I'm just like, okay, great, that's fine. That's like borderline cheating to me.
Yeah, that's...
I'm going to bump you out of the way so I can just possibly wreck you, too. I don't know. That's not my fault if you can't recover from it. I get that mentality, but it's also like, well, kind of cheating in a way.
If you, I forget where it was I saw that, the backstory of, Earnhardt, how he was maybe it was one of his documentaries. There's one or two documentaries on him, not documentary like everyone talks about him. It's more of a history movie.
Oh yeah, like a biopic kind of thing. I think I know which one you're talking about too.
Where it showed how he started out and got up the the kart race dirt track and all that stuff up to where he is now, or was and just some of the stuff that he did and went through and all that to get to where he ended up being.
And I'm not crap talking him or anything like that. He was phenomenal, but
it's everyone. It's like Jeff Gordon. Everyone loves to hate Jeff Gordon.
Because he was like the pretty boy and everything like that. It's but he was also really damn good too.
Yeah.
And dominated the sport for a 7-year period there as well. So
when you're talking driving that fast and knowing how to fine tune everything, all the more power to you.
We used to have family battles though between. It got that bad sometimes. It would be half your family be Ohio State and the other half be Michigan. Or it was like that level for racing for us to some degree back then.
I'm not arguing on that one. I wouldn't be arguing on that.
Yeah, fun times.
Have you caught any races in the last year?
I the only reason why this popped into my head was because we kind of I don't know, something about racing or stock cars or sprint cars or something came up. And then I believe last weekend they did the Daytona 500, so it's NASCAR season has officially started.
Oh, I did not know that.
And I do have an annual tradition, as much as I possibly can. It doesn't happen every year, but the Indy 500 was a huge event in my family.
Okay.
Or for my family in the past. So Memorial Day, I usually try and catch some of that race just because of the nostalgia that I have for it. We watched it every single year. Of course, pulling for an Andretti, and the Andretti curse is sustained for like 60 years now, or 50, however long it's been since Mario's won, because Michael never won it and his son never won it. So yeah. So yeah, I do every year. At least I do try to watch that big one.
Oh, okay.
But I don't go to any.
Yeah, the main, I was going to say, yeah, you're saying about watching that. I gotta actually, that reminds me now, I have to download the schedule for that to make sure I kind of keep track. And oh, okay, night race is coming up. Oh, okay, I'll make sure I watch at least an hour of it or something. Well, see, but then there was during the dumpster fire year, the big thing was sim racing. That was, and then there was one that's called iRacing. I actually tried that for a little bit. It was kind of cool, but you just, unless you have, at least in my view, unless you have 3 screens kind of wrapped around you, like actual looking at a car and all that. But then again, though, if we're going to go down that road, there's guys out there that actually have sim racing systems that you sit down in and you feel like you're sitting in a car, except that you're not. But you got the screens around, all the controls, and it just. But the only racing type thing that I definitely do every year is try to make it to the Vintage Grand Prix. So that's actually fun. It's on a way smaller scale, but
right.
You got a whenever you're talking the. Drawing blank where that is up in Brooklyn there.
Squirrel Hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, the park, Shenley Park?
Yeah, in Shenley Park you get all those twists and turns and all that. And if you've ever been on the ride that they do in between the races, through that whole thing, it just, you'd be like, your eyes would be going, okay.
Well, knowing Shenley,
do that in a little Mini Cooper. Oh
man.
It's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely fun, and the whatever they request for a donation goes to autism. But
wow, that's cool.
It's definitely a fun time.
That's cool. Having been to I can say when we were younger, we did used to go to a handful of races because again we were into kart, Indy, and we would always go to based on where we lived in Northwest Ohio. Good. Where we lived in Northwest Ohio, we would always. It was about a 5-year stretch there. We always went to the Mid Ohio Racetrack, which was a road course, and Michigan Speedway, which was more of a standard oval course. And that Mid-Ohio course, we used to get pit passes.
Oh, nice.
So we could go and meet the drivers in their trailers and stuff like that. They're the whatever the camping setup that they had in the back was. Very fond memories of that. Some of the crashes that we used to watch at Mid-Ohio because of it being a road course and having those longer stretches of, we can speed up here. Oh, but there's this tight turn coming up, and there was a sand pit area and everything. It was wild. I'm having fond memories reminisce about this now, so sorry I went down that rabbit hole, but
no, hey, go down the rabbit hole.
To fully answer your question, we used to go to some races in the past.
Oh, okay.
And it was because we were strategically located. I think Mid-Ohio was maybe an hour from us, and Michigan Speedway was maybe 2 hours from us, so it wasn't a terrible drive or situation.
No, out in Ohio there? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was fun.
PA just kind of doesn't really, they probably do. It just,
There's no NASCAR track in PA, right?
Not that I know.
And the only one in...
Especially in Western PA.
Definitely not, The only one I remember being in PA, there might have been a road course in Eastern PA. But I think the only reason I remember that is because that's where the Andrettis were from at one point.
But that's a sad part too. Unto itself, the fact that all that stuff is getting shut down and drag strips are closing and
it's not popular anymore. It seems to be declining in popularity. So.
Well, that's like there's I forget, Cletus McFarland on YouTube actually bought a racetrack wherever he's located. And I mean, you have to watch him. He puts out some fun, videos and whatnot of, like, it was an old abandoned racetrack, and he's, trying to, get it cleaned up with him and his friends and everything like that. Have races out there and so forth. But the one video I saw, the township that he's in, I guess the neighbors were like, raising an utter stink about it, like trying to get them shut down, and like, it just, I mean, that goes, I guess that kind of ties into the, even with the kids, not having that appreciation for older stuff, but then also too, you can't, you're going to complain about something like that instead of coming to a, like, okay, well, how about if you do it this time or that, some type of, agreement, I guess you could say, because he was coming up and saying, yeah, me having this open, to the township, whoever's, and, me is bringing in, tax revenue,
right.
It's doing this, it's doing this, it's doing this, so I don't understand why, you want to try to shut me down,
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, if you live around a rifle range or in close to a rifle range or some type of, like party center or whatever, you're gonna. I mean, there's been plenty of times, the area I live in, I have a rifle range, rifle club, on the other side of the hill from me, and you can hear it summertime, and then certain times of the day you can hear the music echo, and and it's like, oh, they got, they're having a party now,
Yeah.
It just, I mean, it's one thing if it's literally right next door to you, but then it's also something too if, oh, okay, it's, 5 minutes away from me or something like that.
Right.
I mean, sound carries,
Yeah.
nothing you can, but also too, you're gonna, if they're a responsible owner, which from the looks of, sounds of it, from his videos, he is or trying to be.
Yeah, right.
Why are you going to shut him down?
Yeah. I don't know. It is. There's a lot different now.
Oh yeah, you don't have to tell me twice on that.
Yeah, a lot different, but
whether it's the funniest thing though is to kind of pivot off of that. I guess you could say the old phrase of what was once old is new again.
Yeah.
Like here's a good example. I was going to say this earlier, but I ended up running across the channel. I think it's Andrew Masters on YouTube. And for some reason, this one video popped up. I'm like, I forget what it said, but it was like, you should buy CDs now. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, that you caught my attention. Watched it. I mean, he was made all really great, valid points, but the short thing I was going to get to is the fact that like Best Buy isn't selling DVDs or audio CDs anymore, and because then that goes off onto why do we have to become a digital only society? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, because I'll give you this: it's great to have streaming and or a digital library when you're taking a road trip somewhere. It's easy. It's so much easier than bringing 3 stacks of discs, with you, and trying to change those in the cars. You just say it and it's there.
Right.
But you still can. There's no reason that you can't have, like the physical media at home, or
What about the collector?
Well, yeah.
Okay, so like this dovetails into one of my hobbies. Mm-hmm. I collect special edition or anniversary edition, or just frankly even a regular old Blu-ray, DVD, or 4K of several horror movies. Like, as a collector, I want to own that piece of media, like that physical, tangible thing that I can display as a part of my collection. I can't do that in a digital environment, or as easily.
Well, and the other thing, and the other thing he was saying too is the simple fact of, being able to take that disc out and actually touching that disc and the
Yeah.
physical,
Yeah.
you know, the interaction.
This is an
with
artifact.
it, you know, and I've wrote about that on my my rant on my random thoughts blog page, and it's like I mean you can't take a digital album out of its case, and then slide it onto the turntable, move the thing, and hear the snap, crackle, pop. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's plenty of people that go, oh, snap, crackle, I want a clean sound.
Right, yeah, sure.
I mean, you could say that with the soft white versus cool white light bulbs, the wooden coasters versus steel coasters.
Yep.
It's the whole VHS, Betamax, war again, all over again in different forms.
Yeah.
But the it just you can't slide the disc out of a digital format of it and put it on in the CD player and the physical interaction. I mean, because the one thing that I read, like I think it was under the comments underneath that video. The guy said, "Oh yeah, I knew someone. He ripped all his music, to digital format and sold all his CDs, and then his, hard drive crashed."
Yeah,
it's like,
there you
sucks
go.
To be you.
Yeah, there you go. Terrible. Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to have absolutely, every CD under the planet, but
right.
You have, if you have a nice sizable collection, keep it. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from ripping it to have the digital format,
yes,
but still have the physical copy as well.
For me too, like some of my favorite movies or music or whatever it might be, in their original native form, it was a physical artifact. So why wouldn't I want to, as a collector especially, why wouldn't I want to honor that somehow, some way, by actually having a physical artifact of this, whether it be in its native original format, LP vinyl for music. I can't own I can't own the original 8mm film of certain things, but I still have at least a physical artifact copy of a movie, essentially. So I don't know. I don't understand this. I need a physical, tangible thing at times. There's a level of comfort there. There's a level of expectation there. But again, I keep returning that collector's mindset and just having an actual physical collection of something that you can build, display, and show.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I'm old school, and I guess it comes to that. But I collect sports cards like that. I collect music like that, movies like that. It's just what I'm used to. I don't know. And I do have collections of music in audio. Like I used to buy iTunes, so all my songs on iTunes, so I could have them, like you say, and easily play them in the car or in the bus or whatever.
But here's okay. You said iTunes, and
whatever it is now, like Apple Music.
Well, yeah, this all snowballs. The other thing you brought up that reminds me is I have a streaming service, and that's the only way I get music.
Right.
Who's to say that CD that I like listening to a lot, they don't go doink and pull it off that service?
Exactly. Yeah. Then what do you do?
Or, I mean, for that matter, technically, they could probably, even though you have CD or MP3s that you own in the cloud and all that stuff, who's to say they can't go doink and pull it out of your collection?
Definitely true.
So if you have the physical copy of it, or even movies.
Yeah, definitely
movies and TV shows. Those are a thing that I've run into a lot. Like, for example, it's just me, but the Prime Video, they used to have Mad About You and TV show, and I'd watch it, have it on the background and all that. Now they go, oh, sorry, not in your, you can't. It's not available.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, so it just.
That's the thing you're right, because and then you're looking for a specific movie and you subscribe to 7 different streaming channels and it's on none of them.
Yeah.
Well, then what do? You got to go to the library. You got to go buy it somehow in a physical format so that you
But
can put it
then
in your
also-
DVD player
And also too, if it's not,
or buy it online.
yeah, if it's not in print anymore
Yeah,
or something like
yeah,
that, or
yeah.
it's you got to like comb to the ends of the internet to
Right.
be able to try to find a
Right.
copy of it. You know,
Yeah. I don't know.
when
We definitely
all,
have different.
all goes back to that initial. There's no appreciation for anything. In some terms,
Or at
fit
least,
format.
or at least awe of what once was.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because if there was that, and then there was I'm not saying you're supposed to collect anything and everything,
Right.
all of it.
Can't be a hoarder.
Yeah, you can't go. Why would you collect cassette tapes? I mean, I mean, I'm a tech guy, and I'll tell you right now, after a while, that cassette tape is going to stretch or break
Yep,
or whatnot.
yep.
But CD, record, reel to reel, even for that kind of, but CD and record, I mean, that's the way to go.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and
It's funny you say that, though, because I have my dad's old cassette collection, and I won't get rid of it for nostalgic reasons.
I mean, nothing wrong with that, but at some point, you could put it into a cassette deck and then go to play it, and then it just goes,
Oh,
cassette
yeah.
tape doesn't.
Well, we did that one time with one of my dad's favorite cassettes because we discovered the magic that it was Eric Clapton and the song Layla. And my brother kind of borrowed my dad's cassette tape with that song on it, and we only played that song over and over again. So we would rewind and play, and then one day we were in our room, and it broke. And we were terrified because we were like, oh no, what is Dad going to do to us now? What do we do? We didn't know it was going to break. We had no idea.
Yeah.
But learned a harsh lesson that day, that medium is very finite.
The fun part with that one is you always take a pencil and you just sit there and
Yeah.
do that to
Yeah.
rewind it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I've taken the cassettes apart to whenever I was all these many years ago. I used to get three pack of TDK cassettes in a plastic bag, and they had the screws that actually held them together, so I'd take them apart if need be and rewind it. Like it would break off the end. You'd have to take the little clip out, slide it under there, then carefully rewind it. So yeah, I've done all that type of stuff. I've taken Atari controllers apart to try to figure out what. I was always one for trying to fix stuff.
You engineer you over there.
Yeah, that's for sure. But anywho, this has been fun.
Yes.
This has
Fantastic
been-
evening.
And we definitely had our cold ones.
We
so
definitely did tonight.
what do you say we close up the garage and get out of here?
Let's do it. It is past
Huh?
garage closing time, so
Yeah,
we should.
especially with this off the record, off the cuff episode. I'm sure these folks want to. We had some good food, good choice on the fish sandwich. There.
Yes, it was
Why did I
excellent.
say that?
Our
Very
waitress
good.
was clutch when it came through for that.
But we had some good food and cold drinks, that's for sure.
Yes, and good conversation with good company.
Yeah, definitely had another fun one again. So
Agreed.
let's we're not actually in the garage, but let's get out before they close up on us.
That's fair enough. Sounds
So-
good.
All right, and that is a wrap. Talk to you later.
See ya.